Hello dear students, welcome to your EVS term 2 of your class 5. Term 2, that means you're already midway. Okay, so let's begin without any further delay because there is a lot of new things that you are going to learn and you will be benefited from what you are learning in your EVS. The title says Balanced Diet. So we are going to talk about something related to food today. And food and all the information that you learn today in your class will be useful for you and for your family and for people who are around you. You can be a source of education for the others as well. And same time, check your food also. Let's begin. The first thing that we will learn is malnutrition. Okay, malnutrition is when a person does not get enough nutrition, or mal means bad, malfunction. Have you heard the word malfunction? Like that, mal is bad nutrition. The person does not get enough food. So why doesn't a person get good nutrition? Because they are unable to buy nutritious food, or they don't have the money. Financial problems, poverty, these are the reasons. So what happens if there is malnutrition? Okay, what happens is that they will start getting weak because enough nutrients are not there for the body to function well, and they will get diseases, and sadly they will also die. Okay, then to whom does it happen? To any age group. Malnutrition can happen to any age group, but in our country and in some other developing countries, we see that it happens more among children. Why? Because these are the children's growing years. They need more nutrients so that their body can grow and their body can be built. So if that time you don't get nutrients, then they will have a lot of problems, and that will cause a lot of diseases as well. So who will it affect? So what do we do? What is the solution? Solution is that they eat nutritious food and clean water. That everybody has to have access to nutritious food and clean water. So this is how you can understand malnutrition better, because without good food, all diseases and everything can happen. Okay, so the next term that we are going to learn is diseases. We just discussed that because of malnutrition, diseases can happen. So what are diseases? Diseases mean when our body is not able to function normally, like our jump, run, walk, do work at home or play. If our body is not able to do its normal functions and it exhibits unhealthy symptoms like weakness, fatigue, tiredness, fevers, or any of those things, then that means it's unhealthy symptom. That is called as a disease. Okay, understood disease? Okay, now today we are talking about diet and related to food. So let's talk about a term called deficiency diseases. Okay, there are various kinds of diseases because of other organ failure or infections or other various reasons, but we are going to learn about deficiency diseases. Okay, deficiency diseases means if our body lack any particular nutrient and we have symptoms related to that, then we call it as deficiency diseases. So these are the three new terms and we will use them in today's class very often. So that is why we first learned the three words. So if deficiency of some nutrients will cause diseases, let's see what are the nutrients we need for our body. Then we will go on to see the deficiency diseases. So what are the most important nutrients that we need for our body? The first one is carbohydrates. Now carbohydrates, when we learn each of these nutrients, let's have some questions in our mind, like why do we need carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are the energy source of our body. They give energy for our body to do its work, play, any kind of activity, cycling, dancing, swimming, anything. The energy comes from the food that we get from the food that we eat and the carbohydrates that we get from the food. Got it? Carbohydrates give energy for all our day-to-day activities. Okay? Where do we get the carbohydrate energy from? From foods like wheat, rice, bread, and all those kind of food items. Okay? Cereals, yes, sugars, all these things we get the carbohydrates. Then the second one is protein. What does protein do? The first question we ask. Proteins help to build our body and repair our body. Our body is always at work 24/7, right? Even when we are sleeping, some functions of our body is still happening. So there will be some wear and tear, some damages, and so we have to repair it. Who does the repair? Protein. So protein helps to build our body, okay, build our muscles and also repair. So protein is very important. Where do we get it from? We get it from both vegetable food or plant food and animal food. In the plant food, pulses have rich source of all the dals and soybeans and all those kind of beans and all, chickpeas, all those are rich sources of protein. Animal food, of course, milk, eggs, meat, fish, all these have rich sources of proteins. Moving to fats. Fats also give a lot of energy for our body. Okay, the rest of the fats are stored in our body, and it is helps to protect our body organs. Okay, it gives that fat tissue that is under the skin, and it protects our body from hot and cold, and also it also protects our vital organs. That you will learn as you go higher up in the classes, but for today just learn that fats give energy for our body. So where do we get the fat from? Butter, oil, ghee, all these things will give fats, and also meat, egg yolks, all these things will give us a lot of fats. The next important nutrient that our body requires is vitamins and minerals. Okay, I'm writing it together because your functions are almost similar. Vitamins and minerals are very important to maintain the health of our body, protect us from diseases, build our immune system or keep our immune system strong. All this comes from the vitamins and minerals. Where do we get them from? Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables. These are the most important sources of vitamins and minerals for us, and then few others which we will learn as we go by. Then these days the doctors and the nutrition experts tell us that we should include a lot of roughage in our diet. Roughage helps to excrete the waste or the toxins from our body easily. Okay, so roughage is present in green leafy vegetables and of course fruits also. Okay, so these are the vital nutrients of our body. So if anything is deficient, then it causes a deficiency disease. So now that we know these are the nutrients, let's see if they are deficient, okay, what diseases are commonly found. Deficiency diseases, we start with the most common. This is not seen much now, but a few years ago the developing world really struggled with these diseases. Okay, so the first one is marasmus. Okay, second one is kwashiorkor. Okay, both these were found in children, and it was such a sad thing to see children who are affected by this, because they not just have weakness in their body, but they would exhibit physical symptoms which was very terrible to see. Marasmus, children have stunted growth. Okay, children are supposed to grow, right? When you go to the hospital, you must have seen a chart, growth chart. A child is supposed to grow this much every month. Okay, and as you grow older, then every year they'll check your growth. And when they're babies, every month is so important. So imagine they don't grow. In marasmus, they don't grow. They have a stunted growth. Then they have skin problems, dry skin, wrinkled skin. The baby skin is supposed to be soft, right? The children's skin is supposed to be soft. Imagine a wrinkled skin. That means there is a deficiency. That's the second point. The third point is they have a lot of stomach disorders, like diarrheas and vomitings. Okay, so imagine they already are not having enough nutrients and they have diarrhea and vomiting. All the nutrients are gone. So 3 things. Number 1 is they have stunted growth. Number 2 is they have skin wrinkling and dryness. And the third thing is they have stomach disorders. Second thing, kwashiorkor is because of carbohydrate and protein deficiency. Imagine the most important nutrients of our body are not seen in this disease. That is, there's a lack of those 2 nutrients, carbohydrates and proteins. Imagine the children who don't get, that means they don't get the basic food like rice and bread and all also they don't get. That's a very sad state of affairs. But it's changed a lot because the WHO, the UN, everybody and the food authorities, everybody is working hard to make sure that our children have a great future because they are the citizens of tomorrow. They should be strong and healthy today, right? Okay. Kwashiorkor, what are the symptoms? Again, reduced growth. Children will not have growth and they'll have low appetite and they will have physical symptoms like an enlarged stomach. Okay, and it's very sad. They will be just so weak and lethargic, and these kids are having kwashiorkor. Okay, so these are the diseases. What is the solution? They need to get proper nutrition. Proper nutrition. All right, moving on to the other deficiency diseases. The first one is, we will look at vitamin deficiencies. The first one is vitamin A, then it is vitamin B, then vitamin C, vitamin D, okay, iodine and iron deficiency. Okay, we will, okay, so these are the deficient nutrients we are going to see, and if they are deficient in our body, what do we call them? The first question is, what do we call them? Then second point we will discuss is, which organs are affected? Third one is, which food should we eat to prevent or to treat? 3 questions we will ask. Okay, fourth question is, what are the symptoms? All right, so we will start with what is the disease called as. Number 1, vitamin A deficiency is called as night blindness. Night blindness. Which organ does it affect? It affects the eyes. What are the symptoms? The people who are having vitamin A deficiency cannot see anything in even a dim light. Okay, we all can normally see even in a dark room because our eyes will adjust and we can see images. Okay, if we look close, we can see what it is. But these people have a deficiency wherein they cannot see even in dim light. That's the symptom. So how do we treat or how do we prevent? We have vitamin A rich diet, and they are carrots, papayas, mangoes, milk, green leafy vegetables. So these things make sure you have. Next time you find carrot in your meal, don't keep it aside. Okay, eat all the nutritious things that your parents give you because it's a balanced diet. Moving on to vitamin B. What is the deficiency disease called as? Beriberi. Beriberi. Okay, beriberi disease is found when there is deficiency of vitamin B. Which one does it affect? It affects our nervous system and also it affects our appetite. What are the symptoms? We will find low appetite and also we will find dry and rough skin. Not just dry, rough skin. Okay, so what is the solution or what is the treatment? What is the prevention? We eat vitamin B rich food. Vitamin B is so rich in wheat bran, rice bran and all those cereals. Okay, so make sure you eat, make sure that the person gets to eat vitamin B rich food, that is these bran cereals which are unpolished. If you are polished, what happens? Polishing is a process by which the food can look more attractive, that is the cereals. So what do? We avoid the polishing. Okay, don't eat polished food because the nutrients are lost or the bran is lost. So unpolished whole wheat and whole cereals. All right, then milk, then eggs. Okay, and green leafy vegetables are rich in vitamin B. All right, moving on to vitamin C. What is the vitamin C deficiency called as? Our first question is, what's the deficiency disease called as? Scurvy. Scurvy. What happens? Which organs does it affect? Gums and joints, and also our immune system will be weakened. That's the right word. All right. Okay. So what are the symptoms? Swollen gums, and the gums will start bleeding. If it's not treated, then it will start bleeding. And the joints, there will be pain in the joints. So these are the symptoms. How do we treat or how do we prevent? Eating vitamin C rich food. What are the vitamin C rich food? Lemon, gooseberry or amla, oranges, green leafy vegetables, okay, and other fruits. These are rich in vitamin C's. Tomatoes are rich in vitamin C. Alright, moving on to vitamin D. What is the disease, deficiency disease of vitamin D called as? Rickets. Rickets. Okay, where does it affect? It affects the bones. Okay, and it also, again, like vitamin C, it weakens our immune system. It weakens our immune system inside, we will not know. Vitamin D plays a very important role even in the building of our immunity. But first thing, it will affect the bones. So, what are the symptoms? Bow legs. Bow legs. Normally, our legs are supposed to be like this, but these children will have bow legs, or the people. Okay, and now how do we prevent or how do we treat? We need to have vitamin D rich food. The vitamin D rich food are milk, eggs, cheese, okay, meat, and of course precious sunlight. We have to get the sunlight. We have to just go and stand in the sun, not in the hot sun where you get a sunburn, okay, just enough sunlight to get your vitamin D. Preferably the morning, the mid-morning sun is very good. Alright, next one, iodine. Iodine deficiency. Iodine deficiency is called as goiter. The iodine deficiency is called as goiter. So what happens? The thyroid gland, we have a thyroid gland in our neck, and that will be affected. There will be swelling, big swelling if the iodine is deficient in our food. So we learn the symptoms. Okay, now what do we do to prevent? We have iodized salt and lots of seafood. Prevention and treatment is iodized salt and lots of seafood. The next one, the last one, is anemia. So anemia is when our body is not having enough iron. Iron is a mineral, right? So when we don't have enough iron, our body is not able to produce enough red blood cells. Red blood cells are very important because our body needs the blood to transport the nutrients and transport all the vitamins and all, and our body can function well. So if that is not there, then there is anemia. Anemia, what are the symptoms? Person is very tired, lethargic, okay, not able to do much work, and then these are outwardly symptoms, and inwardly there will be a lot of changes in our organs, and slowly a lot of other complications happen. So that is about anemia. So where do we get the iron rich food from? Yes, green leafy vegetables like spinach, okay, drumsticks, then dates, okay, then egg yolk, meat. All these things will have rich source of iron. So these are the deficiency diseases. What are their names and what happens when these deficiency diseases are there? Like how do we detect them? With these symptoms. And once we detect the symptoms, what do? We immediately treat it. What do? Eat foods that are rich in these vitamins. Okay, so deficiency diseases, are they communicable diseases? No, not at all. It's only for the person who's having the deficiency. It does not transfer to another person. Alright, moving on. So we've got all the nutrients. Now how does our body use it? First thing is, it does digest. So the moment you hear digest or digestion, you think of the stomach. Wait, okay? The digestion starts in the mouth itself. Surprised? Yes, digestion starts in the mouth itself with the help of teeth, with the help of tongue, with the help of saliva. Wow. Okay. So the teeth breaks the food into smaller, simpler forms. Okay. And then the tongue helps to roll the food around, so it gets mixed with the saliva. Now the saliva has some digestive enzymes. The saliva has some digestive enzymes that will help to break the food into simple sugars. Okay. It will help to break the food into simple sugars. That is done by the saliva. Okay. So again, break it into, this is manual. Okay, that is, it will break it from big pieces to small pieces. Tongue will help to turn it around. It's the largest muscular organ, remember. So it has it's very flexible, it moves around and moves the food all around the mouth. So the saliva will get mixed. Number one is it has salivary enzymes. So it has digestive enzymes which can break down the food from complex sugar to simple sugars. Okay, and then it also makes our food moist. Two things. So when it is moist, we can easily swallow our food. Try for swallowing a dry food, very hard, right? But when the saliva will naturally make our food moist and we can easily swallow. So the digestion begins in the mouth. Don't forget that. Okay, so I've been mentioning about simple sugars. So let's see what is a simple sugar. Glucose. Glucose is a simple sugar. What does glucose do? Glucose is something that our body likes a lot because it is easily digestible and it gives instant energy. Okay, it is easily digestible and it gives instant energy. That is why our body likes it. And it's a rich source of energy for our body. Our body can act quickly, okay, or be active quickly. So that is the purpose of glucose, and it's the simplest form of sugars. All right, and what happens if where do we get the glucose from? All the food we eat. Okay, carbohydrates are there, so we will get it. And then if we don't have glucose, what happens? Yes, weakness, lethargy, then dizziness and even loss of consciousness. So it's not a simple thing as it looks. Simple sugars into simpler glucose. No, so glucose is not a simple matter. If it's not there, our body will have a lot of problems. Like see, even just weakness, lethargy, dizziness and loss of consciousness. Sometimes even people can die because of lack of glucose. It's really a serious matter. So next time somebody is having dizziness or fainting, quickly go to the aid with the help of an elder and you can immediately give them glucose depending on what is the situation. All right. Okay. Then moving on from digestion, now that we have gotten the food also in our mind, in our stomachs, now let's learn something else about food hygiene and health. Okay, food hygiene and health. Okay, I've written it like this for a purpose. Always remember, food is required for health and hygiene is also required for health. So together, food hygiene is very important for health. That is why I wrote it like this. So what are the things that we should remember in food and hygiene for our health to be maintained? Number one, the utensils that we use for the cooking should be washed thoroughly, washed well. Second thing is, the person who's handling the food should be clean, or they should not have any diseases, okay, any communicable diseases, and they should wash their hands with soap and water, clean clothes, aprons and, and hair all nicely tied up, otherwise there will be hair in the food. And also cleanliness of the person who prepares the food is very, very important. Third thing is, the food itself should be clean. Meat, egg, fish, all these things, fruits and vegetables should be washed well before we even cook. Fourth thing is, now the food is here and we are going to cook. Cooking is very, very important. Food should not be undercooked or overcooked. So what happens if it is undercooked? Then there are diseases. We learned earlier that why should we cook food, and the reasons are, it makes the food very soft, it makes the food easily digestible, it makes the food tasty, and also it makes the food free from microorganisms. Remember in class 2 we learned. Okay, so what does it do? It kills the microorganisms so we can be safe from diseases. So the fourth point is that the food has to be cooked just the right amount. Overcooking will destroy the nutrients. Undercooking will cause diseases. So both ways be balanced. And the fifth thing is, once the food is cooked, it has to be stored well, covered. Not with flies, access for any flies or cockroaches or lizards or rats or anything. No access for these things. Then the food will get contaminated and we will have contaminated food, diseases will occur. So, food has to be stored well. Okay. Then, do not eat stale food. Do not eat stale food. Food which is old, avoid. Do not eat them. Okay. So, see these are the 6 points. If we can maintain these basic things, food and hygiene, the health will be good. Alright, moving on to something that is very important about food is preserving, food preservation. Okay, food preservation. So, how do we preserve our food? There are so many ways. The first one is dry storage. Okay, dry storage. So, from the very word it says it has to be dry and stored. So, how do we store dry? The containers should be dry. There should not be any moisture. Okay, and it should be stored means it has to be tightly closed. Okay, and what are the food items? All the sugar, cereals, pulses. Okay, these things can be dry stored. The next one is cold storage. Okay, so cold storage is, the word itself says cold and stored. So, cold is refrigeration. The first thing that will go to your mind is refrigerator. Okay, yes, refrigerator is right. Refrigeration is the process of, storing the food in lower temperatures. It's below 0. That is -1, -2, -3 and all other temperatures in which the food can be stored in the refrigerator. And what happens? What is the purpose? The purpose is that the microorganism does not grow in cold temperature. Microorganisms cannot grow in cold temperature. That's why refrigeration was discovered. In very olden days, it was not there. Alright. So, and it has to be properly stored, closed. And what can be stored in cold storage? Fruits, vegetables, meat, fish, eggs, milk. Okay. All these things can be stored for a few days, up to 3 to 5 days. That's it. Okay. Not more than that. Even that 3 to 5 days depends on each food. Alright. Okay. Moving on to the next one. The dry storage and the cold storage is over. Next one is called drying. Okay. The other word for drying is also dehydrated food. Okay. Dehydrated food. Now, the word itself tells you the whole thing. Okay, dry. You have to dry the food. From which one should we dry? From the moisture that is present in the fruits, vegetables, meat, everything. Okay, everything has some amount of moisture. So, we have to dry them so that the moisture goes out and the food can be preserved. Now, how do we dry? Of course, sunlight is the best way, then ovens, and then now there is a latest one called dehydrators. So, people preserve fruits and vegetables and all through the process of dehydration. Okay, and we can preserve a lot of foodstuffs through the process of drying or dehydrators. Alright, then next one. After drying, the next method is called vacuum packing. Vacuum packing. Okay, so now all these preservation things that we are seeing, okay, the methods that we are seeing, it can be done in our house and it can be done in the commercial setting also. Commercial is the shops and supermarkets and all. When they sell food, they have to be preserved. Well, otherwise, by the time it comes home, it will be decayed and contaminated. So these food preservations are done in our homes and also in a smaller way, what is sufficient for a house, and commercially it's like huge factories, industries and all are into this food preservation. Okay, so vacuum packing, it can be done at home by simpler method, that is you put the food item and then press the air down. Press the air down. You've heard of Ziplocs and even containers without the air going in, you just kind of press it down. Ziplocs, we can just flatten it so that all the air goes out and the food is preserved. Commercially, they use machines. So, the air is removed. How do we do vacuum packing? The air is totally removed. So, because when air, moisture, all these things are there, then microorganisms can grow and also decay can happen. So, we have to avoid by vacuum packing. Alright, so in vacuum packing, liquids are packed, meat is packed, fruits and vegetables are packed, so many options are available. Okay, then after learning vacuum packing, the next one is boiling. It's a simpler method. We boil milk. Okay, so when we are boiling, the food, the microorganisms or anything that is in it is destroyed and the food is preserved. Okay, so when I'm talking about boiling, let's hear about pasteurization also, discovered by the scientist Louis Pasteur. What did he do? What is pasteurization? He discovered pasteurization. It's a phenomenon by which the microorganisms in the food or the milk is destroyed. How? By heating it in a certain temperature for a certain time. Okay, not just certain temperature and certain time. Both are necessary for pasteurization. So boiling and pasteurization. Next one is salting. Okay, this is a very age-old method. Okay, the things were preserved by adding salt. So what does salt do? Salt will absorb the water. Okay, will remove the water, and these things are preserved. Salt is an excellent preservation, right? So this is also called as curing. The other word for salting is curing, and so many things can be used. So many food items can be preserved with salting, and in particular is fish and meat. Okay, so they can be preserved for longer time. The next one that we are going to learn is canning or bottling. Okay, canning or bottling. Okay, so now these two words are similar, yet there are differences. Similar, the process is similar, yet there are differences. This can be done at home and it can be done in the commercial setting. Commercial is huge. Okay, like there are so many methods in this itself. Now, how do we do it? Yes, bottle and can. Okay, can is a tin can. Okay, bottle. So bottle is mainly used for liquids, and can is used for food, solid food. Okay, so what are the things? Tuna, meat, all these things can be used for solid food. Can in tin cans, and bottle is for liquids. In both the methods, okay, first the food is preserved, then it's closely tightened, and also in this bottling method, we put these things in hot liquid. Okay, so that the vacuum can be the vacuum is produced and it can be sealed. So that is why sometimes, I don't know if you've noticed, when you get jam or when you get other food products in bottles, they don't just quickly click open. You have to kind of press it, you hit it down, so the vacuum is released and you can easily open. So that is the way the canning and the bottling method preserves food. The next one is pickling. Okay, all of us can think of yummy pickles. Okay, so pickling can be used to preserve a lot of vegetables, okay, and meat and fish. And what is the specialty is it makes use of salt, okay, spices, and something very important, and an acid. Okay, and an acid. So these three things have to be used for pickling in order to preserve. What all can you preserve? Any kind of vegetables, cucumbers, tomatoes, garlic, ginger, lemons, mangoes, everything can be preserved. What do you need to remember for pickling? You need salt, you need spices, and you need an acid, a vinegar. And every preservation, remember, it needs to be tightly closed and protected. Okay, all right. So moving on from pickling, the last method is fermenting. Okay, fermenting. The moment we talk about fermentation, you think of curd. Yes, excellent. So the milk is because of the fermentation process. Okay, the lactic acid, the lactobacillus bacteria, which are the good bacteria. Okay, so they will convert the milk into the curd. And what is curd? Curd is an excellent source of probiotic. Next time, remember to eat curd. Probiotic. It's easily digestible. It's very good for our stomach. Okay, it gives us a lot of carbohydrates and proteins and also fats. Okay, so that's about fermenting. So is it only curd that you can ferment? No, there are a lot of food that can be fermented, but today we will learn about curd and idlis, appams and doshas. All of them are prepared the previous day, okay, with the process of grinding rice and urad dal, and then they are left overnight for it to ferment. That is when it becomes more effective or digestible and useful for our stomachs. Okay, so why do we leave it overnight? So that the fermentation process, the atmospheric bacteria will help in the fermentation process. So that is fermenting of food. So I hope, even though there were quite a few, I hope you understood each one of them. So next time you can just go out into your kitchen and ask your mom about what are the things that you do to preserve food. You can go to your grandma and ask what are the things you did, grandma, during your childhood days to preserve food, and she can tell you about her parents too. So in that way you will just add to the knowledge that you already gained through this video and from your textbook in particular. So you can find out what were the techniques they use and what are the techniques we use now. Each home has something very unique and specific, okay, each family. So you can even find out about your family, and then when you get another chance you share it with your friends. So you can always exchange information. So these are the things about food and balanced diet that we learned. We learned that nutrition is must for our body. If nutrition is not there, there is malnutrition, and then diseases, and the diseases are of various kinds. But today we've learned about deficiency diseases. Deficiency diseases is when a nutrient is deficient in our body. So what are the nutrients that we really need for our body? Carbohydrates, fats, proteins, fats, minerals, vitamins and roughage. Roughage is very, very important because it has to remove all the toxins from our body. So all these things are easily available in our day-to-day food. Just make sure it is balanced. All these things, all these nutrients should be there in your breakfast, lunch and dinner. Okay, as much as possible. Okay, then we learnt about if the nutrients are not there, what are the diseases. We learnt about vitamin deficiencies, mineral, that is the iron deficiency, and we also learned about carbohydrate and protein deficiency, what are the diseases and how do we detect them, and we also learned what are the symptoms and what are the treatments or what is the prevention. Then we moved on to see about digestion. Digestion starts right from the mouth. That's how our body processes and takes in all the nutrition from the food. Then we learned about food hygiene and health. Very closely related terms, okay? It's very important for our health. Food and hygiene are important. So what all do? We learned 6 points, okay? Simple but very critical points. Then we moved on to see food preservation. Food preservation is, one is to keep it safe, okay, safe from microorganisms, and also one is to make it available through the year, okay. So those are the reasons for preservation, okay, and it has to reach us without any contamination from the shops or from the farms, all those things. So we learned so many methods, okay. We learned the dry storage, the cold storage, we learned about drying, we learned about vacuum packing, then we learned about, yes, salting, boiling, pasteurization, we learned about canning and bottling, we learned about pickling, and finally we learned about fermentation. So I hope you are going to go back home to your kitchen, to your moms, and ask a lot of questions and start looking at a lot of things that are going to be done in your home itself. And also make sure that your food is well balanced, and whatever information you gained, share it with others. Alright, so bye bye for now. We will see you in another class of EVS very soon.